What's up YouTube, Steve-O here. In today's video I'm going to show you how to improve Windows security. Keep in mind these are my suggestions, and if you guys have any other suggestions, please leave it in the comments below. Nowadays it is very hard to keep up with hackers, and never mind your kids. So in this video I am hoping to help you guys stay ahead and improve Windows security settings. Now, I am running Windows 10 Pro version 1903, which is the current latest version of Windows as of today. So some of these settings may be different if you're using a different version like the home version or the enterprise version of Windows, but I'll try to cover those differences in this video. So the first thing I want to go over is Windows updates. I know everybody regrets updating Windows. It's a time-consuming thing. Sometimes it messes up Windows or your applications that you have running. And so it could be a hassle. I can definitely understand that. So what I'm going to show you is how to improve when it updates and give it a delay or even a pause on your updates. So there's two types of Windows updates that they have. One is a security patch updates, and the other is a feature updates. Now what I'm going to show you in this video is how to delay the feature update but not delay your security updates. So let's jump right into it. So let's go ahead, click on the start menu here. There we go. And let's type in, if I can actually type here, Windows updates, Windows update settings we want to go into. And then from here, we want to click on advanced options. And in here, there's a couple settings I want to change here. So if we look down here on the bottom, these are your feature updates. This option will let you delay when it installs or downloads the feature updates. So let's go ahead, and by default it's going to be 0. So let's go ahead and change this to 30 days. And right below that is your security updates. I typically leave this at 0. That's what I would recommend as well. Let's see what else I normally would change here. So the notification to restart, I'm not sure why this is off, but I always like to be notified before my computer gets restarted. So let's turn that on. And that should be about it for Windows updates. So now what this is going to do is, as there is a new Windows feature update, it's going to postpone that for 30 days, which if there's any bugs, I would hope within 30 days Microsoft would be able to figure the bugs out and fix the bugs. Now we can go, if 30 days, doesn't seem to, it's not long enough for you guys. I mean, we can go all the way up to, let's see, to 365 days, so a whole year, which I wouldn't recommend because there's a lot of cool features that Microsoft has added. So wouldn't suggest doing that. I would suggest maybe 30 to 60 days. So the next thing I want to go over is Java updates. Now Java is going away. It's slowly going away, I should say. So a lot of websites still use it just because of the fundings to switch from a Java page to a HTML page are quite expensive, or could be quite expensive and time consuming. So let's first make sure we have Java installed here. So if we go to Control Panel and go to Uninstall Programs, uninstall a program, we noticed there's Java 8 I have installed on this. So let's go ahead and make sure we have the latest and greatest Java. So we can go close out of that. Open up the Start menu again and just type in Configure Java. Let's open that up. And in here, if we go to the Update tab, and click on Update Now on the bottom right. And I did just install Java for this um, video purpose, so it is the newest and greatest. Now the second thing I like to do in Java here, if we go to the Security tab, by default they have this checked. It's not a good idea to have this checked, just because it's potential security vulnerabilities that this opens up. So let's go ahead and uncheck that and apply. We're going to get the here we're going to get the elevated privileges, and we're just going to hit yes on that. Okay, I hit OK and OK. So the next thing I want to go over real quick is about antivirus. Now Windows does come with their own antivirus. It's called Windows Defender, which does work, but it doesn't cover you in all aspects of viruses or ransomware or anything like that. The two programs that I do use is Bitdefender and Norton's. They work very well. I have tested them out, and if you guys are interested, please definitely go and check them out. I am not sponsored by them by any means. Those are the softwares I do use and I do like. So the other quick thing I want to go over is your router firmware. Now it's always good to keep that firmware up to date, just because there could be security patches, could be added features, or even performance improvements. So I definitely would suggest going to your router's manufacturer's website and grabbing the newest firmware and loading that up to your router. I would also back up your router before you load the firmware. A lot of the router manufacturers out there nowadays, it's really easy to update the firmware. There's no possible way I can go over every single firmware and every revision of router out there. But if you are having any issues or trouble doing it, please definitely let me know in the comments below. I can definitely help you out with that. Alright, so since we got those two quick things out of the way, now let's go back into the Windows settings. Now notice when I open up Task Manager, it does not ask me for the elevated privileges. Now to me, that's a security risk, because so now somebody can come in here and force close like Microsoft Edge or something like that, and they can close out applications, or even services. They can stop services, which to me, without giving that elevated privileges alert, that's not too secure. So let's go ahead and change that. Now if we open up the start menu again and we type in user, if you just type in users, it should just pop right up, change user account control settings. So now I know on enterprise versions, by default it does come to the highest priority, but in Pro and Home I believe by default it is the second tier down. So let's go ahead and bring that all the way up to the top there, hit OK, and here is that elevated privileges I was talking about, yes or no. So we're going to say yes, and now if I open up Task Manager, before it opens up, it's going to bring up this elevated permissions. So if we hit no, it's not going to open up, obviously. So the problem with elevated privileges is if you're an administrator user, it will not prompt you with a password. So if you step away from your computer and forgot to lock your computer, somebody can potentially hop on there and do some damage. So I'm going to show you how to enable a password for the administrator user. Now I do want to also mention is if you have multiple users and you can set all those other users as a standard user, and if they are set up as a standard user, it will prompt them up with a password to proceed. So I just want to let me first quickly show you how to see if you're a standard user or administrator user. So let's go ahead and open up Control Panel. And then we're going to go to Change Account Type. And in this area, you're going to see all your users. On this demo, I only have one user on here. And as you can tell, this user is an administrator user. So if we click on that user, and then from here we can change the account type. And notice it's grayed out is because there's only one administrator user and only one user on this computer, so it won't let me click on standard user. But this is where you would change your user to either administrator or standard user. So let's go ahead and exit out all that. So now I'm going to show you how to make your administrator elevated privileges prompt for that password. So what we're going to do here, we're going to open up local security policy. Just type in local, and you should see local security policy. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. So from here, we're going to want to go to local policies, and then we want to go to security options and just click on the folder. And then we're going to want to look for something that starts with user account control. So if you just click on either one of these and just hit U on your keyboard, it should go right to it for you. So this is the user control section, and we're going to look for something that has elevated privileges for administrator. So we're going to want to double click on that. In this drop down menu here, we're going to want to change that to prompt for credentials, and then hit apply and hit OK. Now we can exit out of this local security policy. And now if I open up Task Manager again, instead of giving me a yes and no, I also have to type in my password as well. So let's type in my password, hit OK, and now we can get into Task Manager. One of my concerns of Windows is how easy it is to bypass somebody's user, or to change it, or even create your own administrator user. With no special tools and not even having the administrator password for the computer, just by simply using a Windows CD install disk. Unfortunately, I cannot show you how to do that because with YouTube's new policies, I'm not allowed to show you guys how to hack into things. But what I'm going to show you guys is how to prevent this. So what we're going to do is encrypt your drive. So before we encrypt your drive, I would highly recommend also backing up your data. What I do is I have a USB storage device, and I back up all my files to it, and then once it's done backing up, I unplug it. And the reason why I unplug it is if your computer ever gets infected with ransomware, it cannot destroy or lock out your files if you don't have that drive plugged in. So that's a good pro tip. Either way, so let's go ahead and encrypt your drive. So there's a couple different things we gotta note here first. Is Windows does require a TPM chip on your computer for this to work out of the box. But I'm also going to show you, if you don't have a TPM chip, how to bypass that. And it's not a big deal at all if you don't have one. It's really meant for validated purposes for like governments and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So to encrypt your drive using BitLocker, which is from Microsoft, you do need either a Pro version or Enterprise version of Windows. But there are some manufacturers, especially with laptops, that do have their own version or allows you to use BitLocker on the home version of Windows. So just first, let's see what version of Windows you have. If you just open up your start menu and just type in about, you're going to want to find about your PC. Once you have that open, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom here, you'll see your edition, which is mine is Windows 10 Pro. And also, if you are using like a Dell or HP laptop, most likely what you'll have in this About section is a way to encrypt your drive. Since I'm using this as a virtual machine, I'm not going to have this. But if you do have a Dell or HP or different manufacturer and they do support encryption, you'll see it right in this About section. Typically, I should say. Not all the time, but typically. So let's go ahead and say you are running a Pro or Enterprise Edition. Let's go right into encrypting your drive. So if we click on File Explorer, and go to this PC on the left there, and then we can left click and then right click on your C drive and go to turn on BitLocker. Now, as you can tell, there is an error saying that I do not have a TPM chip in my computer, which is fine. TPM chip, you technically do not need this for BitLocker to work or to function properly. This is really just meant for validated purposes or for governments and enterprise computers. So I'm going to show you how to bypass that. So let's exit out of that. Let's open up the Windows Start menu here and type in group, and we are looking for edit group policy. Let's extend this over for you guys. And we're going to go to administrative templates, and then we are going to go to Windows components, and then extend BitLocker, and then click on operating system drive, and then we are looking for required additional authorization at startup. We want to double click on that and click on enable, click on apply, and OK. And then we can exit out of our group policies here. And now we should be able to right click on the C drive again and click on turn on BitLocker. We should not get that error again. There we go. So now this is going to take a couple seconds to go over the hardware of my computer. So in the magic of video editing, I'll make this process go faster for you guys. Alright, so for my computer it took about 1 minute and 20 seconds. For your computer it may take a little bit longer depending on how big your hard drive size is and the speed of your computer. So at this menu here, it's giving you an option of 2 different options to unlock your BitLocker when you start up your computer. In this demo I'm just going to show you the password, but you can also use a USB dongle to do this. So let's click on password. I'll give it a nice long password. Not really, but just for this demo, that's where it's going to be at. So we hit next. So in this section, this is where you back up your recovery key. So just in case you forget your password, this will be able to unlock your BitLocker and to give it a new password. So there's a couple different options. You can send it over to Microsoft, your Microsoft account. You can throw it to a USB stick, you can throw it onto a file, or you can print it out. I would suggest at least to send it to a file and to print it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to print it out to a PDF creator, and I am going to call this recovery key. Go to my documents, save. So that's there. Now the problem is, since I don't have a USB drive or another drive on this computer, to put the recovery file, it will not let me save it to the drive that I'm encrypting. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. So if I bring that up to, throw in my documents here, this is my recovery key If I try to save it, it says you cannot do this. So if you had another drive or a USB stick or something like that, you can throw it on the USB stick. So for in this demo, I'm just going to print it out as a PDF onto the C drive because this is just a demo. So we're going to hit next. In this section, they're giving you two different options of how to encrypt your drive. Is either just encrypt the data that's used or encrypt your whole drive. I would recommend encrypting your whole drive just because even though that Windows deletes a file, that file is now not encrypted. But as we all know, when you delete files from Windows, it's still on your hard drive until it gets overwritten, especially on mechanical drives. So my suggestion, yes, it might be a little bit slower, but if you really want to make sure your data is encrypted, go with the entire drive encryption. In this example, I'm going to do the entire disk encryption. So now this menu is just pretty much telling you they created a new encryption type, and if you go with the newer encryption, it's not compatible with the older versions of Windows and stuff like that. So I would go with the new encryption, but if you are using a removable drive that you're going to be bringing it to other computers, I would recommend going to the compatibility mode version. In this example, I'm just going to go with the new encryption. And here, it's just going to run a system check, so that's okay. We're going to hit continue. So now, this may take some time. It could take almost a day, depending on how big your hard drive is and how quick your hard drive is. So just be patient with it. You can still use your computer, you can still restart and everything like that. It just might be a little bit slow, that's all. So it looks like I do have to restart my computer. So let's go ahead and restart this computer. Restart. Alright, notice once it tried to boot up into Windows, it's asking me to put in my password that I put in to unlock it. Do that, and Windows is starting up. Alright, so it looks like we're back in Windows here. Alright, so it looks like it's encrypting right now. So like I said, at this point it is going to be a little bit slower, as you can tell. Let's go ahead and see if we can actually see like a status. Apparently not. It's in progress. Okay, that's good enough for me. At least it's at Microsoft minutes, so I'll say like 18 days or something like that, you know, and 5 seconds later it's done. But anywho's, that's about it for encrypting your drive. Alright, so I do want to add, after a couple seconds here, it did pop up with a status bar for the encryption. Like I said, yours might take a little bit longer than mine because I am running as a virtual environment. So the next thing I like to do and to double check is to make sure your computer locks when the screensaver turns on. So to do that, if you right click on your desktop and go to personalize, and if you type in screensaver up on the top left there, you'll see change screensaver, and click on that. You'll get another window that will pop up, and then if your computer doesn't already have a screensaver, you're going to want to turn that on. I'm just going to choose a blank screensaver for now, and I typically like to put the wait time to like 15 minutes or so. So this way, if I step away from my computer within 15 minutes, I know my computers go into a screensaver. Now to make the computer lock, we're going to want to check this box here. This will lock your computer when the computer goes into screensaver. And then we're going to hit apply and OK. So now when your computer goes into screensaver, it will lock your computer for you. So the next thing I'm going to go over is DNS. And what DNS is name resolution pretty much. So when you go to google.com, it tells your computer, hey, this is the IP address of that computer. It also does a lot of other things in the background potentially as well. Like the DNS server can actually see what websites you go to and see some personal information that you may not want them to see. So in that case, either I would recommend making your own DNS server like I do, which I definitely will show you guys how to do in the future video coming up, or you can set your DNS in your router to a cloud-based DNS like OpenDNS or Cloudflare DNS or even Google DNSs. So you can either set that up at your router level or at your local computer level. The difference is if you set it up at your router level, all your computers in your network is going to use that DNS. If you only do it at the local computer, then only that local computer will use that DNS. So I'm not going to show you how to do it on your router because it could be, there's so many different routers out there. There's no way I can cover all of them. So if you guys do need help with that, please let me know in the comments section below. I can definitely help you out with that. So what I'm going to show you here is how to put it on your local computer. So what we're going to do is look at your network connections. So we're going to open up the start menu and type in network connections, and you want to click on view network connections. And on your system you may have Wi-Fi, you may have other Ethernet adapters, but in this in my virtual environment I only have one Ethernet adapter. So whatever Ethernet adapter you're using, either Wi-Fi or a LAN adapter, you're going to want to do this too. Or if you use both, like Wi-Fi and LAN, sometimes you're going to want to do it to both of them as well. So we're going to right click on your adapter, go to properties, and from there we're going to want to click on version 4 TCP, double click on that, and down here where it says DNS, we're going to want to check that DNS. And in my example here, I'm going to use Cloudflare, which is really easy to remember, 1.1.1.1, and then hit OK, and hit OK, and we can exit out of that. So my next security tip is open Wi-Fi, and what I mean by that is Wi-Fi that you can connect to without typing in the password. Now the problem is with that is that Wi-Fi is not encrypted, so it is very easy for a hacker to be on that same Wi-Fi and to see what you're doing, to be able to do a packet sniffer on you, or even be a middleman, meaning that they can capture the packets that you're sending from your computer to the Wi-Fi router and out to the web. So you can capture those packets and be able to decrypt them very easily. And because of that, I do not recommend you connecting to any Wi-Fi that does not have any password. But doesn't mean you can't. So if you do connect to Wi-Fi's that don't have passwords, I would recommend using a VPN service. Either you can create your own VPN service at your house, which in this video I'm not going to cover over, but in a future video I will, how to show you how to set up a VPN connection at your house. Or you can use third-party VPNs like NordVPN or IPVanish services that are out there. Those are the two ones that I use. I like them both. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by any software companies or products, so these are just the ones I use. I'm not sponsored by them. So the next thing I want to go over is how to see what's starting up on Windows. And the reason why I wanted to show you this, because you should look at this every once in a while, just to see what's starting up and make sure there's no crazy software that's you didn't know about that's starting up in the background or something like that. So it's easy to get to. So if we right click on the start menu here on the bottom and go to Task Manager, and of course I type my password in wrong. Try that again. There we go. And then there should be a tab called Startup. And in here, this is where it will list all the applications that are starting up in the background when you first start Windows. Now I'm going to go ahead and disable this OneDrive because I don't use it, so by me disabling this OneDrive, it is going to help speed up my boot time, so that's a good thing as well. Now if you're going through this and you're not sure exactly what the product is or the software is, I would definitely Google it first, see what it is, and if it's not a Windows based function or something to do with your antivirus, I would definitely disable it and try to look into it a little bit further. It could be a potential virus or some type of security issue. So that's about it for the Windows startup menus. So that wraps it up for this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed and learned a couple things. If there's anything I missed, or you guys seen that I did something wrong, or a better way of doing it, or even more tips, please leave in the comment sections below. I do appreciate that, and maybe I can learn a couple things from you guys too. But if you do like this content, please subscribe, and have a nice day. Steve-O out.